Hey, what's up, La Familia, you crazy football-loving nutters? This is Ray Hudson, and you are luxuriating in listening to the Inter Miami podcast with the stupefyingly magnificent Jay and Alex, two lads who are as electrifying as a hairdryer thrown into a hot tub. Stay tuned, because you know what it's going to be. It's going to be magisterial with an amplifier.
To the left, Pellegrini, inside, Pizarro Golazo, Here's the goal scorer, Morgan, and he's done it again! Lewis Morgan with a second of the match! Higuain will have the goal! He's framed the top 90! It's a sensational first goal for Gonzalo Higuain!
I don't know what is worse, the crypto dip, the great dippening of 2022, or the Inter Miami dip, because it just keeps dropping and dropping and dropping and dropping with no sign of a floor or a bottom to hit before we can bounce back up. It's going to be what looks to be a very, very painful season.
It's kind of like that dream you have where you think you're falling out of bed and you just keep falling and falling and you're praying for that floor to wake you up, and the floor is not coming, and it just gets more painful as we go on. It's really hard to get up, wake up, be excited to jump in here to talk about pain and misery, but here we are. Yeah,
but we'll see. The only difference is that at least that dream ends. And now we're just what seems to be just a horrible season coming on board. And, I know, man, I know that we were talking about how we're level-headed, but certainly not helping Phil's case. We're going to get into all of this, but welcome, everyone, to the Inter Miami podcast. I am Jay Kington, joined by Mr. Than Harrington. How are you doing, buddy? What's new?
Not a lot, man. Just living life, doing my thing. Glad to be back here with you, back in the studio. Good, bad, or indifferent. It's always a good time when we're together.
Yeah, it makes it more bearable, but you're right. It's a whole nother beast. Just finding the motivation to be excited when it's just loss after loss after loss. I mean, to be fair, we did get one draw, but definitely not anywhere near competitive rather. And here's the good news, buddy. We get a week off because we've got World Cup qualifiers, so we can watch some better, more well-rounded footy on the television. And the good part about this is we are guaranteed to not have any pain or tears this weekend, which is I might have pain on Saturday. We'll get into that, but there hopefully won't be any tears. But yeah, man, it'll be hopefully a nice way for everyone to kind of regroup and hopefully try and work some things out to come back a little bit competitive. But of course, we're talking about the Cincinnati game here. The perennial worst team in the league, the 3-time wooden spoon winner, should be 4 times, but they did not award it during the COVID pandemic year. And now it's like Freaky Friday. And we're Lindsay Lohan and they were Jamie Lee Curtis. And, we were the younger team. And now we're just trapped in an old, ugly body. No shade to Jamie Lee Curtis, but, an older body that we certainly don't want to be in, as we are now. Bottom of the East. And I think, tied for worst in the league. So I guess you can only go up, but we're about to test that.
Yeah, I mean, thank God we're not following English or, any European rules here, because we would be sublime relegation candidates at this point. And quite honestly, we might even be sublime relegation candidates for Division 2. So the only way to go is up, maybe?
Maybe.
I don't know.
I'm just waiting for, to hear the news that, Don Garber called Beckham and was like, look, man, we're just going to fold. We're going to fold the program. We're going to give it to Wichita. Wichita really needs an MLS team, and they're probably going to do better than you guys are. It really does hurt to see really the newer. We've already talked about. We've kicked the dead horse over and over with the Nashville, talking about the pain there, but it really does hurt to see Austin coming out, having a better record, seeing Charlotte come out this weekend, get their first win, have a better record. And I mean, I get the sanctions, right? We've all said, we need to kind of take that into account this year for this team. And as long as we can be competitive in some aspects or get some wins here or there, we will be excited. But even with all that in mind, man, this is just a really pitiful showing from the team. No real cohesion. We lost 3-1. There was a second there I was like, damn, I'm actually going to get the score right. 2 weeks in a row. I thought there was a solid chance we could tie it up 2-2, and then that was quickly ripped out. So I'm actually gonna pass the closest kind of the Price is Right here, right? We're gonna go with the closest prediction to that, and that would be you, sir, because you said 3-0, and when you take into account our only goal was from a penalty, 3-0 from the run of play, man, you're pretty spot on there.
I mean, a lot of you guys laughed. You know who you are. You're like, nah, man, no way, not 3-0, not 3-0. And I was sitting on my couch after the second goal going, keep talking. And to be fair, we had no business being out there. I mean, I know we're about to get into it, but Cincy made us look, I mean, it's going to be harsh, but they made us look like child's play at time. Like they were just kind of running around doing what they wanted. It was like FIFA on rookie, on like rookie mode, and they could have tore us apart for more. So I think 3-1 is a good result, as much as a bad result can be a good result, because it could have been a lot worse.
Well, when we get to the positive sections, which we know are going to be a very narrow, very, very quick segment for us, we can discuss that. But start us off here, man. Big change. I think driving down to me to go to Alex's new house. I was able to check out his new house that he's able to finally move into after like a whole year ordeal of not being able to move in there yet. And I saw your text, and it was just like, Drake's in goal. And yeah, man, we knew what that was, but I was trying to be positive. I was like, what if Drake wins man of the match? Oh man, was I wrong? But go ahead and start us off.
Yeah, so I was in the living room getting ready for the game. I'll always remember this. And, Lucy, she watches the games a little bit, but she's not like a super fan. And I was sitting in the living room going, God damn it, Drake is in goal. It's my worst fear. And she goes, then why are you even watching this? She knows how I feel about Drake. But for the first time listeners out here, Drake Callender, I've been talking about him for probably 2 years now at this point, yep. Where I don't rate him as a keeper. I don't have a problem with him as a person, but he's not our keeper for the future. And this preseason, where he let those 2 howlers in, I was saying he's not our keeper. Folks were still saying, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. It's only the preseason. And he let a pretty bad goose egg in. I mean, let's be honest here. Like, he looked lost. He looked like honestly, if Diop wasn't a late scratch, I think we would have been in this game if Diop would have been in goal. For not as bad as 3-1, but some of the mistakes that Drake made, they're borderline unforgivable. I mean, I know we'll get into how the goals were scored here in a bit, but he put the back line into bad positions to have to cover and bail him out. I forget which coach it was. I know it was for Green Bay. He is who we thought he was. Mm-hmm. That's the old quote. He is who we thought he was. And he just, I don't see how he gets back into the first team, barring something super unfortunate happening to our entire goalkeeper roster after this. But Diop's out for 6 to 8 weeks, so we're gonna find out real quick.
Yeah, and so the term late scratch, right? That's usually like maybe something's just slightly off, so we're just gonna hold him back. But I mean, this turns out to be a pretty significant injury, especially considering we're waiting on Marsman to come back, and I think it was after the Chicago game they said it was going to be a few more weeks. So I mean, we need him to come back ASAP. Oh, fingers crossed we can get him back for the Houston game with the additional week off. I guess it kind of works out as far as the timing goes. But I think at this point we're gonna have to move on to CJ and see what CJ has, because Drake. I don't want to be mean. I don't want to be disrespectful to him, right? Like, as a person, you've done nothing wrong, but you're just not that guy, pal.
No, and especially like, and I roasted him pretty bad in the Discord, and everybody was expecting it. But I think the thing that drove me nuts is after having a horrible game, I would stay off social media. And like 3 days later, Drake is on his Instagram or Twitter, whatever it was, posting a juggling video. Like, hey guys, look what I can do.
Mm-hmm.
But he couldn't save one ball, but he juggled 3. I don't know. The big thing that I took away from that late scratch, quote unquote, it was almost like Phil knew this was going to happen, and he didn't want to pour any more gasoline onto the fire that's slowly lighting underneath his seat by letting the fan base have more time to attack him. He's hoping, hey, maybe Calendar will bail me out, and boy, that backfired pretty quickly. So yeah, I agree with you. CJ's gotta go, or gotta have a shot, but it also magnifies the loss of. And as much as I wasn't for him either, he would have been better. Losing Castanera on the offseason, this is a big. It shows the difference in quality between what we had compared to what we have now coming up. Hopefully, CJ does better for us.
Yeah, and I mean, as far as kind of just overall, midfield and moving the ball around the pitch, just more of the same, man. We're really unable to link together more than like 2 or 3 forward passes at a time, man. Very, very disjointed play. And we keep seeing this, like the majority of the passing that we're doing is between the back line and our goalkeeper, whoever our goalkeeper is. It's just this, all we can do. That's like the most efficient we are at passing is just going back and forth between the goalkeeper and the back line, and then across the back line, and then back to the goalkeeper. We cannot move the ball effectively into the attacking third for the life of us. It is absolutely painful to watch, especially considering that, I think the vast majority of our listeners, I can speak for both of us. We have big boy teams that we like in one of the Power 5 leagues, right? Like the EPL, La Liga, Bundesliga, League One in France, and the Serie A, the Italian league, right? So we watch actual stud professional players on the weekend, and then we in turn watch Inter Miami that same week, and like the contrast is just so drastic, especially between whoever your big dog club is and Inter Miami. It's probably easier for like a Nashville fan or like a Seattle, right? That at least their teams are effective and can put together some pretty play. But we're reverting back to this, just lob the ball over top, just try and kick it up, hope for the best. We can't. I'd be surprised if we could ever see a goal where all 10 of our outfielders are touching the ball. I mean, even 11 if you want to include the goalkeeper. But we can't just keep lobbing the ball up, skipping the midfield, and hoping that a Campana or Higuain gets the ball, because they're not speedsters. Maybe if we were rocking with solely our wingers, we might be able to. But just this, I feel like Phil is so set on this system, maybe a more European style play, that system doesn't translate to the MLS. But even more so, you're not utilizing the talent that you have, and I think that's what's probably becoming the most painful. I know we make some changes, and in the second half, we typically get to see, our speedsters, but something's got to give, man, because this just is getting painful.
Yeah, I mean, it might be good for your Power 5 team, because I know Chelsea's flying, but this is the exact same way that United's playing right now, and it's just a headache on Saturdays twice, or one day Saturday, one day Sunday. It's just headaches all around for me. But hopefully Phil gets it figured out. One thing he didn't figure out was how to contain Brandon Vasquez. I mean, you could have, should have known once Brenner wasn't starting that Vasquez was going to have some sort of role to play. I mean, even the most casual fan who had limited stats on what Cincinnati has done so far this year probably could have picked that out. And it was nowhere to be found. Honestly, I would have picked one person to man Mark Vasquez, to at least follow him, shadow him, be the guy to stop him. And it started off early. The first Cincinnati goal, there was way too many backs from our defenders to the wingers, resulting in a free run of play to Vasquez. And in turn, he cut into the box and found Matarrita on the left wide open. I mean, absolutely wide open. He could have parked his vehicle on the pitch, got out, locked it, and then walked the ball at least another 5 feet and struck the ball in the back of the net. And I said, okay, first goal jitters, the pressure's on the team, is what it is. We'll see. But then the second goal was, honest to God, the flip side of the first goal. You know, we failed to close down Matarrita, allowed for the cross into the box, and here comes Vasquez. Vasquez, honestly, it reminded me of watching an NBA crossover. Like, Vasquez lost Lowe. Lowe had no clue where he was. He was stumbling all over his feet, and Vasquez dunked in a header. It was unfortunately pretty play to watch because you knew it was shredding your own team apart. But as an overall soccer fanatic, and you know, I appreciated it. As much as it sucks to say, I appreciate it because it was beautiful play. I wish at some point we get to that level.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of put the league on notice. And if I'm not mistaken, that's 2 goals in back-to-back games. So 4 goals in 2 games. I mean, hell, that would have been the player to pick up on MLS fantasy there. But yeah, and you know, it's strange because like we're seeing like little improvements, right? Like I think Phil's starting to get it right that we go with 4 at the back, but this 4-2-3-1, but like you've got Taylor and Jean Mota as your starting wingers. Why not Emerson? Why not Lassiter? Why not use the speedsters? I'd honestly rather see Taylor or even Mota playing a 10. Like, I think it's at some point we need to at least have Gonzalo come off the bench to see what it would look like without him, and then have him come on for the final 25, 30 minutes to see if he can make an impact. But I don't know. I'm not, I'm not a coach, and I don't have a coaching pedigree outside of FIFA, but I always believe that you need to play your best players in the positions where they can shine the brightest. And I'm not sure that Phil is really understanding that. And I think the seat's only going to get, hotter and hotter on that. But, the good news is, we went 2 down and then we were able to come back with a goal, albeit from a penalty. But Yedlin was able to, really drive up the right-hand side, get in the box, got tackled in there. Pretty cut and dry penalty, honestly. No, I don't think there's any controversy of that. But this is what I think we were all excited about from Yedlin, is that he can use his speed to get you penalties once he gets up in there. Because he's a quick dude. He's still got it. So we go to the spot. Gonzalo, puts it away. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little nervous watching that penalty. For some reason, I was a little nervous. And then Alex and I put a bet on, make or miss. And I did just to have fun with it. And I said, I'm definitely taking, the stats are obviously in the penalty taker's favor. So I did take that bet. I did win, but I'm not gonna lie, I was nervous about it.
I honestly thought maybe Gonzalo would make a statement after Phil had been trashing him all week and maybe just miss it and turn around and look at the bench and throw his hands up in the air and jog down the field. And I know that sucks to say, but like, I believed with at least 50% fiber of my being, like, I was like, oh no, he might just do something here. Because to him, what's the matter? Great that he put it away. I didn't cheer. I'll be honest. I've never been a real big Gonzalo fan. I was more happy for the fact that Yedlin, like you already covered, made that cut, showed that he might not have 5th gear, but he's got the, 1 through 4, and he's still going to put the league through its paces when it has to cover him. So, it was definitely a great move by him. We need to see more of it. We need more players like it. But yeah, the happiness was short-lived. Once again, we decided that we weren't going to close down Matarrita, and we allowed for another cross. And unfortunately, my boy Noah got exposed. Vasquez jumped over him like Vince Carter in the Olympics and dunked in another goal, man. It was pretty ball. And I want to take this moment real quick and call out some folks. The kid is still a teenager. Yeah. You have to understand there's going to be growing pains, but you also have to understand the kid is talented. He has US U18 16, whatever it is, call ups. He is very clearly, an up and coming star, but you can't just call for him to be yanked off the field and never see the field of play again after 2 bad games. If we did that with everybody, we'd never see another player out in the field. So
Yeah. Well, he's
for
only
those,
5'9", you know.
well, yeah, absolutely. But,
Vasquez is
face
6'3". Like, I wouldn't even blame him for maybe getting exposed. That's just, I mean, you're not going to win that aerial battle.
right. But, as soon as that happens, Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, Instagram, oh, Noah Allen, he's not worth anything. Blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
Relax. Give the kid a chance.
Mm-hmm.
I promise you, I was right about him before. I promise you, he'll be fine. Just give him a chance. But after that third goal, the air fully deflated out of the squad. That was that, man. I mean, it was pretty much all she wrote after that.
Yeah. I mean, stat wise, pretty even base stats. I mean, Cincinnati had 49.5% possession. We had 50.5% possession. So, I mean, basically equal. They did get off 15 shots. We were able to get off 13, but the big difference here is they had 6 shots on goal, and out of 13 shots, we were able to only put 2 on goal. And keep in mind, I believe the penalty factors into that as well. So, I mean, if you miss that, like you're just a scrub. Pass wise, we had more passes, but just not effective passes. 420 to 412 accuracy, both, basically at 81%. We had 3 corners. They didn't. They had, some more crosses, offsides weren't bad. Duels won. They did win more duels, 67 to our 55. But outside of that, like really nothing crazy. We did have 19 fouls, but you know how we do it. We like to get our cards up, and both teams had 3 yellow cards. So, to see something, that even, then lose 3-1, it's going to be tough. As far as like the, kind of the difference between the Cincinnati was much more balanced in their attack. I'd say they did prefer the left side, but it's pretty even between the left, middle, and right side. Whereas we were very heavy. We're almost 50% of our attacks were coming down the right side with barely any through the middle and barely any on the left side. So, we're not a balanced team. It seems like we come in with one game plan, stick to it even if it's not working, right? Just it's getting really, really, really tough to watch. And I mean, we love this team and we put ourselves through pain because we are masochists, and we hope that one day we're going to see the turnaround, like what could happen. I don't want to jinx Cincinnati, but they're looking like this could be the season they really turn around. And I mean, honestly, if they can keep up this rate, have a very, very good shot of getting into the playoffs. So we'll see, but man, Phil has got some work to do. So what positives?
I mean,
go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I was going to say, if anybody figures out how to properly contain Yedlin and we're forced to go to the opposite side of the field, Phil's going to have to react a hell of a lot faster than what he's doing right now. Mm-hmm. And we've already proven we can't drive anything up the middle. Our left-hand side is so wishy-washy depending on who we start at our left back. I mean, I hate to say it, but Phil's going to have a real conundrum if something happens where Yedlin does get shut down. I don't see how we're able to get up the field and score, right, to score. Mm-hmm. Because as we already covered, we're trying to lob the ball to Gonzalo, and he's not really fighting for much. Campana's getting thrown off the ball. I don't know, man. It's disheartening. It is. I mean, we can keep going on, beat this dead horse left, right, up, down, whatever, but It's concerning. As a fan who knows, like not a casual fan, as 2 fans here who know the game in and out, to see all the intelligence in the front office, in the coaching staff, and on the field of this game, and they can't even string together 3 passes, it's really alarming.
It is. Well, I mean, I think there's a lot of blame here that you could put on Bill, but at the same time, there's a lot of blame you could put on the players. There were a lot of individual errors out there that needs to be cleaned up. I mean, we were talking about professional athletes, and it feels like we were watching a Sunday league team play. It's getting embarrassing, man. And let's move on. What are some positives? Can you could we extrapolate any positives from this?
I'm going to repeat what I said last week. I believe it was last week. Robbie Taylor, man, he is a dog out there. He's an absolute dog. He's getting in people's faces. He's not afraid to challenge you. He'll push you off on the touchline. You know, he'll attack. He reminds me of what Gregory was last year. And I'm not saying Gregory's lost a step. I'm not saying that he's not the same he was last year, but the intensity that he had is now to Robert Taylor. I don't know
That pit bull attitude.
if he's just, yeah. And I don't know if he's bummed out or upset as how the team's performing. And that's why Gregory hasn't been his normal self. But if those two get on the same wavelength and they just patrol the park, it's going to be fun to watch in that aspect.
I agree. I would like to see Robbie Taylor as our 10. I would like to see Gonzalo on the bench, or I'll even let Gonzalo start up as a number 9, in his true position. But have Taylor pull the strings, have Emerson or Robbie on the left side, and have Lassiter on the right side. Let's just come out firing with our best players, our speedsters on the field, because like G-Mode has not been bad or anything like that, but Lassiter can burn you. And if we're going to favor this right side, then why not just have Lassiter up there and let Yedlin and Lassiter cause havoc on that right side? But I agree with you. Outside of that, there really weren't any positives to take away. And here we go again. You can tell Phil's getting agitated in his post game. He said he was extremely disappointed. He's disappointed with the players, and I'm not really sure as a coach, you should just come out right away, guns blazing, throwing the players under the bus, especially when you have zero winning coaching pedigree behind you. Before we get into this, I've started to see some articles pop up about replacing Neville, and they're not really U.S. based outlets. These are coming from England, right? And I was just, some of them had like hundreds of comments, and I was just scrolling, and everyone was ripping Neville apart as being a horrible coach, that he only got the job because he's David's, buddy, that he was handed a competitive and well-oiled England women's national team, and he made it worse. And it was only once he left that they were able to get competitive again. That both the Neville brothers are horrible. They're arrogant. They think they're good. They're not. And I was just in there, and I'm like, I want to try and stay positive, but game by game by game, if we don't start winning, I mean, all the fans are going to turn on you, especially if you just come out and throw the fans, the players under the bus, like none of it's your fault, right?
Yeah, no, I read some of those same articles, and I'll be honest, the one name that popped up that I was kind of laughing at was Roy Keane, baby. Roy Keane is possible replacement to Neville, and I started imagining in my head, like, Gonzalo getting in Keane's face and Keane just putting his studs in the Gonzalo's face and benching him for the rest of his life. And maybe that's something the team needs, a little more of an authoritarian, like, no, this is how we're doing it. Stop with the drama. Let's go. But I also saw names like Roberto Carlos and Bruce Arena. Yeah. I don't think Bruce is going anywhere, but we can speculate till the cows come home.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. Phil is our coach until Hendo and Beckham say, no, we're done. So at this point, trying to stay positive, we're being positive, at least we have a coach. We're not actively trying to shop around, have an interim that the players don't respect as it is. It would be like a substitute teacher situation where then everything's going to go to shit real quick because they know they don't have to respect an interim manager. At least with Phil, they have to have some semblance of respect. I'm not saying it's high, but it's also not zero. You know what I mean?
I'd be more open to seeing Jason Kreis, the assistant coach, take over. If we did get to that point where Neville is removed from his seat. I'm not a fan of coaches that were defenders. I think that the top coaches out there in the world are either midfielders, wingers, or attackers. I don't think that you build a team around defense when we don't really have stud defensive players. We're trying to build that, and it just doesn't work. But he said he had a game plan that they failed to execute. Like, come on, it's just. I feel like he should be accepting some more of this himself. Expected bumps, we get that. Can't be distracted. They need to focus. all good for that. I mean, here's a positive that we did miss that he did mention to his credit. Like, we got Gibbs back, which is much needed on that left side. And, Duke got in some action. We are actually going to talk a little bit later about Bryce Duke and continuing his, development and everything. But this team, I mean, it's tough. It's tough. And he's saying they need to improve on the basics of football. Well, that's on you, dude. You're the one running the training sessions. You need to get these players where you want them to be. You can't just I don't know. I'm starting to get an agitated, arrogant sense from him, and I really don't like it. Blaming the composure of the players. So we can't keep a hold of the ball. Well, then run some possession drills. What did Johan Cruyff invent that Pep mastered? The Rondo or whatever the box system is that made Barcelona so effective at passing. Maybe we need to just switch it up and get into that. But overall, he needs better quality. He expects a team to be able to pick out passes and execute. He said he felt that the team was capitalizing on changing tides with the penalty miss, but continued to call out the lack of quality and expects the team to work harder. And he's, says he thinks they're different in training when they're in the games. And, we're about to run into the international period where we're having 6 players that are going to go away on international duty, and they're going to, those legs are going to feel exhausted, playing 3 games in the week and a half period or whatever. So there's a solid chance, we're not having Yedlin at full capacity, which I think is probably, the scariest one. But I don't know, man. He says we need to focus on the bonds and building the relationships. Like, dude, this all falls on you. And I really don't like that all the blame seems to be shifted just on the players with such like an aggressive attitude about it.
I'm going to be honest. When I was listening to his press conference, it reminded me of when I asked Riley to do something and he doesn't want to do it. So he starts saying and giving reasons to every little thing why he can't or doesn't want to do it. And at the same time, I'm just like, you were hired to do this job. Mm-hmm. I have been a defender of his because he's a United player I watched growing up. He was on the pitch. He did well. He wasn't the superstar like everybody else around him, but he did well. Mm-hmm. And I want him to succeed, but he's not taking the steps he needs to, at least in my mind or in our minds, to win, to succeed, and to be the coach he was brought in to be. And it's frustrating. I'm not sitting here calling for his head. I mean, I don't think it's the right time, but I think it's getting closer than we all originally thought, to be honest with you.
I think it is as well. I think the fact that he hasn't really ever had a winning pedigree in coaching is starting to get exposed. I think the fact that he was not even, I'd say, in our top 5 choices of coaches is something to be said as well. Seems like, they want to get these, Gallardo, from River Plate or, there was an arsenal of them. And we landed on Alonso. Say what you want. I still think we toasted him a little too early, but it does look nepotistic here that he got this job because he's Beckham's buddy. And I said earlier, I never thought it was a great look that Harvey was announced to the first team squad while they got rid of the 17 other players and had not really even acquired anyone else. It just seems like there's a lot of favors going on here, and it's not going to work out, and everyone's really going to start to be aware of that because now the fact that these articles are already coming out, how these English little media outlets can be, and they can just keep going and snowballing, and then it'll be picked up by the U.S. ones, and then it's going to create this whole scenario where Phil's really going to start to feel the pressure because he's going to start hearing about these articles, and those that attend the press conferences are going to probably start asking him about this stuff, and he's already seems very agitated and not stoic, not calm, and I don't know, not a good look. But Mo Adams, I think, was a little more composed, shall we say, in his post game.
Yeah, so Mo was talking about how the game plan was to progress the ball from back to front. Really?
Oh wow, that's really a revolutionary thought right there.
Dude, let me write this down. I'm going to ship it off to Klopp and Pep and the whole 9 yards. I'm going to make a fortune. We're about to get the big time, buddy. And then he hit me with another one. part of the other game plan was to try to find the playmakers to pull the strings and utilize the wingers. Oh my God, we've been playing this wrong the entire time. I never knew. I don't know. He went on to say that the failure to score goals or giving up too many goals was due to a lack of chemistry. Again, really. They're going to focus on the international break to help build chemistry. You know, the one thing I can agree with Mo on, I know you will too, is that they need to be more patient and urgent without just dumping the ball forward. There was plenty of times, and we can talk back to the beginning of the season, where we have runs up the field. We have the space to make the play, but we panic and we just dump it. We try to make the immediate play rather than being smart with the ball. You know, and not to go off on a tangent, but it's almost like how this team was built. Instead of doing the little things to build up to one big thing, we're just kind of trying to panic real quick and lob it to the front to get the success rather than having a good foundation of play, you know?
Yep.
You know, and then Mo came out and he went on to say, and this is pretty stereotypical. I mean, if you watch enough football, you know what he's going to say. The team is pissed off that they haven't performed. The group is good. They stick together. They will utilize a 2-week break to work hard and focus on translating the training ground action to game day action. Then he went on to say, the way you start isn't always the way you finish. It sounds like they carted Mo out there because, honest to God, no one probably wanted to talk to the press after another loss, and they knew he wasn't going to say anything controversial or outlandish. It was somebody who was going to backfill and say things just to kind of get out of there. It reminds me of like when anybody loses in the EPL, they go on social media and say, we're sorry. We didn't do well. We're so sorry. Like that, it just doesn't feel genuine. It feels like they just kind of gave him a script. Like, here you go.
These are blanket wide statements you can say in every single sport. Doesn't matter what sport you play. You can say this in anyone. What I want to see, man, I want to see moving forward. I think it should be Phil's post game and then Gonzalo's post game, because these two are going to start going at each other. I feel it coming. I feel like, especially last week with how Phil called out Gonzalo, and some of that, you know, may be very fair, but you know, I feel like the players might, you know, start saying some things here and there, kind of insinuating some things. But, you know, that's where we are. Again, we get a week off, then we get to play, we get a home game again, which will be nice to get back out there with everyone. But before we do that, let's go ahead and cover these power rankings just real quick, buddy, because there's really nothing to say. We are last in the league again. I mean, what do you say? What can you say? That's fair. I think that's well deserved, honestly.
I mean, honestly, if there was any way to make it so there was a spot above us that was vacant and then
like
us,
the incoming
that
St.
would be
Louis,
the best.
The incoming
Yeah,
St.
yeah,
Louis
yeah.
team. Yeah. That's fine.
Yeah.
And then someone in like the Facebook group flipped the table. So Inter Miami was at the top, and then, you know, it went reverse order, and they're like, "Yay, see, look, we were winning." Yeah, it's just we're trying to have fun with it over here. But next match, again, Houston Dynamo, home game. You know, Houston hasn't been bad, man. They have not been bad. Decent run of form here. But I don't think any, you know, groundbreaking stuff is going to be happening on the, you know, this off week. I still think this is going to be a team we struggle against, and I don't really think that I don't think it's going to go well, man. I don't really think it's going to go well. What do you how do you foresee this, man?
2-0. We don't score again. I'm going to, you know, I looked into Houston because I'll be honest, I don't watch a lot of Houston's games. I don't really pay attention to them. But I've seen that when they're able to shift into gear, they seem to be able to like take over a game for a period of time. And knowing our squad, if they do not weather that storm, they're just going to shut down and lock out. They're going to be like, here we go again. I don't know. I got to stick with it. I'm going to say for the upcoming match against the Houston Dynamo, we are going to go down 2-0.
I mean, I think that's probably being generous there. It could get very, very bad. I feel like Darwin Quintero could put in 2 on his own against us. I'm going to, just for the sake of being different, I'm going to go 3-1. I'm going to go 3-1, same as last week. I think we're going to continue to struggle, and unless Marsman comes back.
If Drake's in goal, I'm going to change it to 4-0.
Okay. What about CJ? Let's just give them a 3D dynamic here.
Okay, if CJ's in goal, I'm gonna stick with my 2-0, only because I have a feeling CJ can do better, and we'll be able to blame it on Russ, not incompetence, because he's been injured, and then he hasn't really got a lot of burns, so be it. But again, if Drake starts, it's gonna be a 4-0 game. We're gonna be in some trouble.
If CJ starts, we win 2-1.
Okay.
That makes no sense. Because if Mars,
no,
I can't do 3-1. I'm going to go 3-1 with Drake. No, I'll go 2-1 with Marsman. I'll go 1-1 with CJ. I don't know. I like the name. It's a swaggy name. I'm feeling good about it, but who knows? I mean, we're probably going to lose here, so we're probably going to come in same attitude towards it. I think we do a pretty good job of staying positive and not absolutely crushing the team, but. They drew the last one against Colorado. They won the previous one. I believe it was Vancouver, if I'm not mistaken. And then, they drew out their very first game, lost the second one to Kansas City. So, yeah, man, could be another bloody, what is that, a Sunday? What is a second? I don't even know what day it is anymore. Who cares? Let's have some fun with it. What kind of news do we have around the league, buddy?
All right, man. Well, hey, 2 of our Heranitos got called up to the Cuban national team, man. Modesto Mendez, for some of you might realize, he got some burn during the preseason. And Darren Reyes, an attacker, he hasn't really got too much burn with, I'm going to continue to call him Fort Lauderdale CF because I think that sounds better than Inter Miami 2. Reyes was an attacker. He got a little bit of burn off the bench. Not a starter, but the big thing is for Mendez, he has the first team experience. He's continuing to grow into his role. I still don't rate him above Harden, even though I know Mendez has experience, and he won't overtake Mobika, but it's going to be a good learning experience for the kid. And I'm excited for both of them to get some burn out there with the Cuban national team.
I agree. Then we already did mention it, but DeAndre Yedlin is getting called up for the World Cup qualifier. So we do hope that he is on the final squad going into Qatar in the wintertime, not the summertime, because it's going to be hot as hell in the desert in the summertime. But he's going to be playing a pretty pivotal match that will be tomorrow, which is against the U.S. and Mexico at Estadio Azteca in Mexico City. So that's going to be a very, very fun game to watch. I'm excited about this, man. And it's going to be a nice little break between the misery that Inter Miami puts us through.
No, can we take a pause on that real quick? Why is it a 10 p.m. kickoff?
Because of where Mexico is located, specifically Mexico City. I believe that's more on the specific time zone, if I'm not mistaken. So they're playing at like a 7:00 game in that region. That's why we're seeing a 10:00 game.
So for an old man like me, that's like an hour past my bedtime. And
got to do it for America, bro.
Dude, it's a 3 a.m. wake up. You can do it for America. I'm not going to be doing that for America.
Maybe
I don't want to
call out.
I don't want to see. I don't want to see.
You haven't told any of your management that you do this podcast and they listen, but just call out.
Yeah.
Call it.
Yeah. No. I honestly, I want to stay up so I can see that kid from Hershey put another one up on the board. Shout out to my local boy,
my boy,
the LeBron. Yeah, I know the Discord loves when I call him the LeBron James of soccer. But I digress. At 10 p.m., whatever. I'm going to be sleeping in it. I'm getting close to getting my AARP card at this point. Anyways, Inter Miami Dos, or Fort Lauderdale CF, they kick off their season the 26th versus Columbus Crew 2 at 6 p.m. at our beautiful Drive Pink Stadium. Rumor has it, Mr. Kington, that if you want to, you can actually go out and support the teams this year.
Okay.
I was not able to find tickets. Well, no, that's a lie. Up here, I found tickets available for the New York City FC2 match against Inter Miami, but nothing for the Union, nothing for the Red Bull, nothing for anything. I mean, I don't think Red Bull has a team, but any of the other teams, I wasn't able to find anything for. So,
well, they got a solid shot of having a better record than the first team. So,
yeah, I mean, I'll go on record right now and say I think that Inter Miami Dos has a better record than us by far. I think they could win the whole thing.
I think Harvey Neville is the best Neville in our organization. Whoa, hot take.
I won't say that. I refuse to say that. All right. Everybody's favorite section. It's time for OnlyFans, where we bring you fan questions, hot takes, and banter from Inter Miami Podcast social media. First off is from Liam Wolf in our Discord. The next 3 games are tough. If we take 0 points from these next 3, is it time to move on from Phil? Jay?
The next 3 games, the next 5 games is tough. All of April is tough. April is going to be an absolute slaughterhouse. Do we need to restate? We're going against Houston. That's going to be the easiest game probably, because the following week we get New England. The following week after that we get Seattle. Then we get Atlanta, and then we get New England again. And then even rolling into May, we get Charlotte. And I just got this feeling they're just going to, it's at Bank of America Stadium. They're going to have 70,000 fans there. They're already better than us on the season. So it's going to be a world of pain. But I mean, even May, the next 2 months are going to be pretty rough. And to answer that, is it time to move on from Phil? No, I'm going to give Phil 17 games into the season. That's the halfway point. But what I do think, real quick, is that it's time to start questioning Phil. And I think the heat Phil is going to feel is really going to start after this, because there's a solid chance we take 0 points the entire month.
I agree with you to a point. The caveat to this is I think you hit the nail on the head that Christ would have to come in and take the reins if Phil came in. That's the only way I could see him getting sacked, because as you know, someone who's seen way too many interim managers in his lifetime and see how poorly it can make a club be run, I don't think we'll be doing us any favor if we bring somebody in from the outside just to run us for 6 to 7 months. And then,
but Christ does have a pedigree of being successful, at least.
He does. No, I'm not saying that. But with the way we're handling our coaching situations, if he does well, do you really think that they would give him the job?
I think they got to go with the better option. This is not an attractive coaching job. Let's say Phil goes, that's a tough sell.
So that leads into Bernie from the Discord. Looking at the schedule, we already covered this. If we end up with 8-game losing streak, do we sack Phil? However, he also asks you, would we pay him out his contract and pay a new coach, or should we just stick with him until the sanctions are lifted?
I don't think we stick with him until the sanctions are lifted, because we're talking about just shy of 2 years from now. I think if there's a problem, you get him out here, or relegate him to MLS next. Regulate him to Inter 2 and let him coach his son.
Please don't do that to the kids. Don't do that to the kids. Bernie also followed up with, and that's why I told you to hold on, because I wanted to get to Bernie's question. Fair. Would another coach even want the job?
Maybe an outed coach. You know who I saw who would be the perfect man for the job. The man who can rebuild clubs is Mr. Bielsa.
I was just gonna say that. Bielsa, baby.
he might be down with it just to come get some United States in his life, but it's certainly not going to be attractive. Would they want it? I'm sure a coach on the fringes who was maybe unjustly fired may want to give it a shot, but you're still coming in with what looks to be the worst team in the league this season. So tough.
Next up, from our least favorite Scouse himself, Nuka Cola Vendor. We already touched base on this, but how different would the Cincy game be if Diop was in goal?
It'd be different for sure, but by my calculations, we're probably looking at a 2-1 loss instead of a 3-1 loss. I don't think it makes that much of a difference. I mean, with Marsman, yeah, that's a difference, but Diop has had some great games and he's had some really poor games, and Drake Callender has only had poor games. So I still think it's a loss. Maybe subtract 1 goal.
I would say 1-1, only because the 2 mistakes, especially the last 2 goals that Callender gave up, I don't see the experience in Diop allowing that to happen. Like, Callender ran out into no man's land on the second one and got absolutely lost. Diop's not going to let that happen. I could be wrong. I've been critical against Diop. I just don't. I don't see the experience letting that happen.
That was definitely a mistake by Callender, but I don't think it changes anything. That ball went into the side netting. I think just his positioning is going to be center or maybe just right of center. I don't think he can dive and make that save, and I'm not even sure Diop could, but it'd be better. I think it'd be an improvement from Callender, But I want to see the unknown variable. Again, I'm going back to CJ Dos Santos. I want to see what he's got. I want to see what the kid's got. I think while there are skills you can hone as a goalkeeper, it's just kind of one of those talents you either have or you don't. It's different than any other position on the pitch. It's just kind of something you're born with, the intuition, and then you can hone like some smaller areas around that to really become a well-rounded player. But I say give the unknown a shot. I mean, what do we have to lose here? We're already worse than the league. What's one more game?
I mean, one more game with Drake Callender, and you might be doing this as a single man podcast here.
Everyone's gonna leave me.
Yeah, everybody's gonna leave you here. All right, 2 more questions. First one is because you put me on the spot last week. Everybody wants to know if I truly am an environmentalist, if I practice yoga or do Pilates. The answer to all of this is no.
Would love to see you on a yoga mat.
It used to happen when I was playing football. Jay mispronounced the Poconos as the Pekingese last week.
Which is a dog breed.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, which is a dog. Yeah. But no, I do not do Pilates, nor do I do yoga. I am a power lifter, and I am as immobile as can be. I have a very limited range of motion, and I also do not go out and save trees. I'm not a conservationist. So
right. Well, as long as you can sleep with yourself lying to all of our viewers. Sure.
I mean, I did pretty well for the past week. It was okay.
There's no need to go burn down the tree in your backyard this week to prove a point, okay?
No, lightning hit that last year, so I think God did that work already.
God hates the trees now.
Yes, he hates that pine tree. Last question. This is aimed solely at you, Mr. Kington, because you are going to be put through hell. B. Griff, our second to last, least favorite Scouser, wants to know what our predictions are for the Inter Miami podcast six-a-side team. Breaking news. We have a six-a-side team, and it's going to be a shit show.
Yeah, or I'm going to tell you about the Man City fan I ran into at Publix. But to be fair, he's a really old guy, and he's been through the pain with him, and he was telling me I played in the third division way back in the day with him. But yeah, I was like, please tell me you're not a Scouser. And he held up his arm to what looked like a prison-style MCFC tattoo on his forearm. But so Southern Legion is having a 6-versus-6 tournament this weekend on Saturday. We kind of jokingly said like, oh, let's send a squad from the pod. So now we got a pod squad going, right? And then I realized that it's like $300 a team to buy in, and I was like, shit, we already committed. And JC, the president, from Southern Legion texted me on Saturday to see if I wanted to come to Mickey Burns, just being nice and an invite to Mickey Burns, one of the watch spots for the club this previous weekend. And I was like, hey, I can't make it to this week, but we'll see you next week. We're going to be at the tournament. So I ran today, ran about 2 miles today. Monday ran about 1.5 miles, and let's just say it's the first time I've ran in a while. So my legs feel heavy, my lungs feel they're getting better. I used to be a smoker, so I haven't really been smoking in like two or 3 years. I mean, that's probably generous. 2 years, something like that. So my lungs are certainly in better shape, but I'm trying to get myself into a at least somewhat competitive nature. Now, to be fair, I'm not gonna expose anyone or name any names. We do have a few players on the team that are they wear between XL to triple XL shirts, and they're kind of being funny about it, like they're gonna struggle, and we're all gonna struggle probably. But I do have 2 buddies of mine who are going to join us who play weekly and are pretty competitive. So we got an outside shot to win one game. I think the best game is going to be the first game, because after that, we're all going to be struggling. We've been chatting all night, coming up with our formations. I forgot who it was. Maybe it was Griff. Maybe it was Nuka. But they're like, you know what? I expect outside curlers just like you in pro clubs. So I'm going to go show them how I play. Said I got the feet of a Brazilian with the outside shot of JaVale McGee. So going to get to the field a little earlier, try and hone it. If we can win one game, I'll be happy. To say that we've got a shot to win this whole thing, probably not going to happen. I think there's like 12 teams playing. So we're doing this just for the fun of it. I'm sure there's going to be a few very competitive teams, but it's going to be a good way to get the new jerseys, the new Inter Miami jerseys, the Supremely Inter jerseys are going to come out for their debut in that game as we rock that. So we'll see. It's going to be probably very laughable, probably very painful, especially the following day. But we'll see.
I mean, I heard Blaze Matuidi's not doing anything if you need a sub. Like, he's just standing around awkwardly putting his thumbs up in like a yeah motion in every photo I see him in.
So funny of that, because I was thinking, like, if I score a goal, I'm gonna be that guy that busts out the Blaze Matuidi little bird waddle.
For any of our listeners out there, if you happen to be going to this, please live stream this, because I need some comedy in my life. And this would be it.
I'm gonna tell Chloe to not go. Like, I don't even want her to see me.
I might pay Chloe to go now that you say that, just so she can live stream it for me, because she would do that for me, I think. Next time if I'm down there, man, I'll come show you the Vidic side. I'll come down there. I'll get the bloody header, but I also got like a Roberto Carlos free kick, which is not probably going to go anywhere closer than that, but it's probably better than what you guys are bringing to the field this year for the 6-a-side. So
there might have been a discussion about if we play like a really good competitive side that we just see how many red cards we can accumulate. So we'll see. We got some shooters out here in the pod squad.
On behalf of the Pod Squad Southern Legion, if you are listening to this, I apologize in advance. I had nothing to do with this. Please accept me when I come back down. But hey, that's it for OnlyFans for this week. Guys, if you want to get your hot takes, your fan questions heard, reach out to us on the Twitter page, which is Jay
at Enter MIA Podcast, or in the Discord.
And or Instagram at
Enter Miami Podcast.
I just had to make sure you had those, situated correctly this week instead of flip flopping them. Got to throw you a little curveball, but no, just from both of us, we appreciate everybody listening. We appreciate all of the supporters groups out there who help get our word out there, our takes. Just 2 guys sitting on the couch, helping us get out there. And as we end every episode, vamos, Miami.
Vamos, Miami. Good outro there, buddy. I like that.
I do what I can for the pod.
Adios, everyone.